What's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and we've had a lot of updates in the last few days. Our last predictions was acting before the festivals. Obviously, we have Venice behind us, we have Telluride behind us, and Tiff has already kicked off a little bit. So there's a lot of things that we have to come to terms with in terms of us either being completely wrong or very slightly some things that we were right about.
Oh yeah, there's some good ones there. I mean, the weeks and months of people saying you're underestimating Jay Kelly, I feel like it paid off because Jay Kelly was really nothing. Was really nothing. But yeah, Venice is now done. TIFF is underway. We're getting reviews of one battle after another. Things are shifting day by day.
Before diving into today's predictions, I just want to say please consider dropping a like and a subscription. It helps our channel continue to grow. And also comment down below with your current mid-festival predictions. Things are changing each and every day. We just dropped an acting video a few days ago where we recorded before Venice, and we saw within just like 2 or 3 days of the festival, stuff shook up massively, as well as let us know some things you want to see us bring to the channel of Fantasy Filmball and areas for us to really improve going forward. We love yapping about award season and sharing all this time with all of you out there, and we want to make sure it's as fun and enjoyable for you all as it is for us here. So let us know, but let's not waste any more time. Let's dive into some of these updates we've had since the last time we recorded.
So let's quickly talk Venice and talk about the Venice prizes. So first and foremost, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, Jim Jarmusch's film won the Golden Lion, and that means 2 years in a row we will have a Golden Lion winner that is not in Oscar contention, because The Room Next Door last year, we briefly thought maybe it could be in Oscar contention, ended up with 0 nominations. And of course, with this new one, there's no chance. There's no chance for this movie. Do not let the Golden Lion sway you into predicting it. Some other films that were awarded, of course, Benny Safdie's The Smashing Machine ended up getting the Best Director prize, which is commonly seen as the runner-up prize of the festival. And The Voice of Hind Rajab won the actual runner-up prize of the festival, the Grand Prix. Those two definitely worth looking out for. But more notable than what did win awards is what did not win awards, as the highly, highly acclaimed No Other Choice from Park Chan-wook walked away empty-handed, as did A House of Dynamite and Begonia and countless others. Frankenstein, not that Frankenstein was expected for an award, no award for Frankenstein. So a lot of the movies that we came into Venice expecting to be contenders did not get a prize at the very end. So my question to you, Dylan, is, does it matter? Do we care about a prize-winning film or a non-prize-winning film? Does this push us further towards Smashing Machine? Does this push us away from A House of Dynamite or Begonia or Frankenstein? What do you think?
So I'm kind of two minds. My first mind is, yeah, this backs up what I've been saying about Smash Machine for a little bit, that this can be a real award season contender. Obviously, here it won the Best Director prize, and this goodwill can carry into the fall festival season to showcase to A24 that people do want to see this movie, that they do like this movie, and that they should push this movie. But on the flip side, for me, there's also this thinking of like, none of this really matters. You and I were not at Venice. Most of the people online complaining about the winners were not at Venice and haven't seen the movies, and therefore we're all hoping movies that we think we will like from directors or actors that we adore will receive prizes. But at the end of the day, the jury of like 7 people pick the movies that they like the most. And as we saw last year with Room Next Door topping films like The Brutalist and I'm Still Here, eventual Oscar Best Picture nominees, is that this group of people, for whatever reason, maybe it's personal biases, or maybe it's due to them actually loving the films, went in a different direction than where the Academy will go at the end of the day. And I think this year will be the same, where like, sure, a lot of the online base has this personal love for Park Chan-wook and really want to see no other choice receive a prize. But I think that if the film is strong enough, if Neon cares enough, they can push it to award success, that they don't need the Golden Lion. They don't need the Best Director prize. And the same thing goes for like Begonia and or even A House of Dynamite from Catherine Bigelow, where it has such amazing critical reception so far, and we'll have to see how the audience reacts to it when it hits some more festivals, and as well as its eventual Netflix release, that these films will be fine even without these massive Venice Championship prizes.
Moving over to TIFF, we've had a few big premieres so far. Rental Family, which has been getting good, not great reception, but we're hearing from press. We haven't heard a lot from the average, ordinary people voting for the People's Choice Award, the people that crowned the life of Chuck last year. And also, and this is the biggest surprise for me, Nuremberg is through the roof audience reception, which I know I didn't expect. I'm sure you didn't expect. We saw the trailer; it looked terrible, but here we are. And do we have to consider this as like a September 5 type contender?
The thing with Nuremberg is something that I feel like we have every year inside the awards race, is where we get a trailer that the majority of people do not like, do not rave for, and that could be due to the contents of the trailer or just the public reception of it online, and that kind of spills to everyone throughout, and they all go like, "Oh, this looks like shit." And Nuremberg's trailer doesn't look the greatest, but it does look like bait. And clearly, at least people seem to be enjoying the bait of the movie. So the real question comes down to is how is it campaigned? And is this a surprise PCA winner? The same way of like Life of Chuck last year. And for the same thing for like Rental Family is the reviews are doing what I kind of feared for the movie, where it's not glowing nines and tens from people across the board. It's a lot of sevens, and sevens can get you the PCA victory. It can be enough to get the best picture nomination. What it still needs is that PCA victory, like what Jojo Rabbit, like what Belfast got. But if Rental Family ends up being number 2 or number 3 to something like Nuremberg, something like Roofman, or even if TIFF finally breaks their streak of having PC or of having TIFF premieres and we get something like Sentimental Value or Hamnet or something completely else winning the PCA this year, then I think Rental Family could be on the downward trajectory. But at the moment, we don't know where TIFF PCA is going at the time of recording, so there's no need to abandon ship quite yet.
I mean, we haven't. Our last video was recorded before the Hamnet reviews came out, so I feel like we should just officially say now, I'm switching to Jessie Buckley for Best Actress. Sweeper. What about you?
Yeah, she's currently my number one. My thing still will be is if Sentimental Value is the Best Picture winner, we've seen time and time again, especially in the Best Actress category, the stronger film will succeed. So currently, because I don't have Sentimental Value winning Best Picture, that I do have Buckley winning the award. But if we get to a point where Sentimental Value kind of falls in the footsteps of Honora and it's winning multiple major awards bodies, let's say BAFTA, let's say Critics' Choice, then it becomes a real battle like what we had last year. And I think this is going to be a race that comes down to the wire, just like we've seen in the Best Actress category the last few years.
Well, I think the marker on that, the stronger film wins the performance prize, comes down to if it's not a sweeper, right? If it is a close race, the stronger film prevails. But if it's a sweeper, which is what I think Jessie Buckley is, then it doesn't matter. If it
Mhm.
was neck and neck, and Renata Reinsve took something like the Golden Globe, and she took Critics' Choice, and then or took BAFTA, then I might be inclined to go Renata Reinsve. But I think that Jessie Buckley will clean up everything. And that's why I'm leaning Jessie Buckley very, very heavily. I don't think this is even going to be a question. I think we'll walk into every award ceremony knowing Jessie Buckley is winning. And lastly, I think we should mention, because we have been doubters all along of One Battle After Another and its potential box office, not doing well. But the reviews are coming in and they're through the roof. People are calling it the best blockbuster of the 21st century, which seems like hyperbole and could be disappointing. But, the reviews are there. We'll have to see if the audience reception is there. But at this point, I'm going in on this movie. I'm not seeing the what I was kind of expecting was, well, it's good. It's a PTA movie. It's good, but not enough to bring in the audiences. But I have no doubt that the audiences will come with the reception that this is getting.
Yeah, technically the embargo has not quite lifted yet, so I'm more so kind of waiting for more people to chime in post embargo releasing. But if you want to hear our full thoughts on One Battle After Another, a review is coming out next week, and it's one I'm super excited for. PTA, this trailer looks great. I have high hopes for the movie itself. The movie's quality has never really been my drawback to its awards chances. I think it will even be more amplified the further we get. Warner Brothers is on a historic 7 films, over $40 million opening weekend streak. And all signs, I would say, are at least pointing to this is not going to hit that mark. And I think the real question is going to be is, despite its box office performance, can the critical and audience reception carry this movie inside the awards race? And something that you've seen throughout my personal predictions all year long. It is that first or second movie out on so many categories where if this movie is real, it can be a 10 plus nomination movie. But on the flip side, if the box office struggles, the potential, I should say, box office struggles, because maybe this does pull a surprise big performance because off the back of Leo, off the back of this amazing critical reception that seems to be coming here shortly, that can succeed. But if it does struggle, where will be Warner Brothers' stake with this film, and will this film connect across the board, or will it be in just specific categories like what you and I have had previously, where maybe like screenplay and maybe like score still do happen, but stuff like actor, director, and some of the technical categories are on the outside looking in.
So you mentioned director. I think let's get into director, the purpose of this video, and let's talk about this category. So at this point, despite the amazing reviews for Hamnet, despite the amazing reviews or reactions so far, no reviews yet, embargo's still up for One Battle After Another. I'm still going Joachim Trier. I still have high hopes in sentimental value as our eventual Best Picture winner, as our potential sweeper across many, many categories. And look, what this is coming down to right now for me is there's the age-old stat that I keep relying on, which is that in the entire era of the expanded ballot, when we've had 10 Best Picture nominees, there have only been two Best Picture winners that have come from a director that has directed a Best Picture nominee before, Birdman and Oppenheimer. And based on that, based on that, I will always lean more heavily to the first time nominee, the person who it's their first rodeo, who's unproven with the Oscars, and that is Joachim Trier. Has not had a Best Picture nominee, has had a screenplay nomination, an international feature nomination, but this is his first rodeo in Best Picture. That going up against, Chloe Zhao coming for a second Best Picture win. I don't think so. I don't think so. That is the odds of a second Best Picture win are so goddamn low, right? Like the last time that that happened, I think was Clint Eastwood for Million Dollar Baby. Like it's been a minute for someone to win Best Picture twice. So do I think Hamnet can do it? I don't know about that. And then we've got Sinners, One Battle After Another, which although Coogler and PTA have not won Best Picture before, they have been nominated. And is that going to dissuade people? Are people going to say, "Oh, I can't vote Sinners because Black Panther was nominated"? Absolutely not. But, I'm just going statistically off of what has happened in the past. There's no reason why these films can't win, as we saw with Oppenheimer, which my logic against it winning all year long was, "Oh, Christopher Nolan's been nominated." Right? A film still can win, but I'm always going to go for the underdog. I'm always going to root for the underdog until proven that that's just not possible anymore.
I mean, when you talk about Underdog, it's a movie that you and I feel like were a little bit lower on its awards chances at the beginning of the season. But going throughout the year, we've seen the love from both the general audience, both from the critics, and both from the industry continue to rise day in and day out. And I think that is Coogler with Sinners. And yes, Black Panther was a Best Picture nominee, but Coogler was not a part of the ticketing package that time around.
Mhm.
So this is, in a sense, his first rodeo in these major above the line categories. And while I still have my same reservations with Sinners that I did before, my stance going forward with the Oscars is going to be is the Best Picture winning film is probably going to clean up a lot until we see the tides turn. We've had now 3 straight years of this happening, and there's no signs of it stopping here. So I do agree where Sentimental Value is our Best Picture winner, that Trier will come along with the package. If Sinners is our Best Picture winner, then I think Coogler does come along with a package. And in the event that it is something like One Battle After Another following in Oppenheimer's footsteps, then PTA would come along with a package as well. It's just really placing your stake with what movie you think will be the dominating factor inside of this award season, and at least coming to grips with a lot of the stuff that's happened at Venice, what we've seen at Telluride, and the start of Tiff here. I feel like Sinners has the best narrative going forward, but obviously narratives don't always correlate to victories, especially in the above the line categories. It's a mix of narrative, it's a mix of passion, it's a mix of the right movie at the right time. And it all really depends on what Warner Brothers does at the end of the day. If they give Sinners the rollout that people were talking about when it first released in terms of its award season package, then I can totally see this be the movie of the moment this award season. But if, let's say, One Battle After Another is real and they're kind of splitting between both of those, then I think there is a clear avenue for Sentiments of Value to rise up. Hamnet, I don't feel good about its wins, but I feel very confident about its nominations in director and picture and in multiple other categories. I guess one movie we really haven't talked about inside this Best Director race so far is A House of Dynamite from Catherine Bigelow. And I mean, yes, it didn't win a major prize over at Venice. No Netflix movie won a major prize this year, but I think the critical reception out of those screenings, it debuted with a high 80, a low 90 on Metacritic. It's going to play at New York next, a audience that should eat it up as well. This seems to be one of, just like Hamnet, the major critical favorites coming out of these fall film festivals. And I think Netflix has shown year in and year out, whatever their top dog is, they will get those additional extra nominations. And we thought, you and I were very much on the Frankenstein train all year long. The early reactions to the movie were a little bit weaker. It's come a little bit stronger from its screening over at Telluride. My fear with it is, even if it is a Best Picture nominee, I don't think Del Toro comes along in director. And you and I have both been very low on Bomback's chances for Jay Kelly. I think that Venice first screening really is going to do a massive hit to the film. And even if it's rebounding well after Telluride, and assuming at the other fall film festivals, I think it's just going to be that little stain, not as much as like Joker Folia do last year, but that initial stain on the film, people saying it's awful, it's bad. And even if it does rebound well, I don't know if it can rebound that well. And I think Dynamite is going to be Netflix's main horse this award season.
I feel like Netflix can push both Frankenstein and A House of Dynamite. I am staying low on Jay Kelly, but I feel like both A House of Dynamite and Frankenstein have different avenues which will help them. I mean, Frankenstein has a better critical reception than Nightmare Alley, which got into Best Picture, and it has more tech potential. And it's going to be extremely visible. Netflix is giving it a great release. It's going to be extremely, extremely visible through the award season, and that will help. There will be a lot of screenings for that one, pushing its chances in the technical categories, which will help it get into other categories. But for director, I don't believe in it. And I do believe that Bigelow is very much in the conversation because she is the critical highbrow favorite. I should also just amend my previous statement and say that while the first time person winning is a best picture thing, it's not a best director thing. We've seen multiple best directors come along that have been in the conversation before. I mean, Jane Campion won best director for Power of the Dog, lost best picture. You can go back to Alfonso Cuarón for both Roma and Gravity, Alejandro Iñárritu for The Revenant. There have been many, many. Damien Chazelle, La La Land is another one. So many times we've seen this pattern of directors who have been nominated before winning director in a losing picture. And so, but more what I was saying is, since we are in this new era of the sweep we're not likely to see picture and director split from each other. But there is definitely a possibility that we could see Chloe Zhao, PTA, Ryan Coogler win director and lose picture. Because that's a very like 2010s thing to happen at the Academy Awards. Now, one thing I will say about Sinners is I think that there is as good a chance for Ryan Coogler to win as there is a chance for him to be snubbed entirely.
Completely agree.
This 100% fits the niche of what we've seen in past seasons of Denis Villeneuve, Dune, the blockbuster director like Greta Gerwig for Barbie, that big blockbuster movie that can play in all the technical categories and yet is seen as just a little bit too mainstream for the directing branch, which leads them to eventually snubbing it in Best Director. That's why I have Ryan Coogler at number 4. I believe that there is a strong chance that he could be seen as not important enough to get into Best Director, and they go with something like Catherine Bigelow, like Jafar Panahi, like Yorgos Lanthimos over him. But also, this is why I'm very strong on Chloe Zhao and Paul Thomas Anderson, and even Josh Safdie. These are auteurs with a capital A. They are people who make movies their own way, completely unbeholden to any expectations of being mainstream. And I think that makes them resonate really well with the director's branch. PTA especially, even if I were to have One Battle After Another in like my number 10, number 9 spot in Best Picture, I'd still have it in director. It's the type of movie that the director's branch will support no matter what. The directors and the writers will always love PTA, even if the others kind of don't as much. So that's my top 5. But like I said, I think Catherine Bigelow, Jafar Panahi, Yorgos Lanthimos all play to that very specific breed um, of auteur filmmaker. And Ryan Coogler, like it or not, is a little bit closer to Greta Gerwig or Denis Villeneuve or John M. Chu, Wicked for Good, our Critics' Choice Best Director winner last year.
My stance with Ryan Coogler is basically what you said there. I had for the rest of the season been on he is Denis, he is Gerwig, he is Chu, he is this director who is in this major tech player but fails to connect in the director category and is not winning Best Picture. The big difference for me, at least at this moment, is Sinners is my number 1 currently for picture.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, if it's winning picture, Coogler's going to come along. But let's say if Sinners drops down a little bit, like what you and I had it for the majority of the season, where it's like a number 5, a number 6, number 7, the Best Picture race. And yeah, Coogler's on his way out. You bring in someone, like you said, is more director friendly. That's currently why I do have Yorgos Lanthimos still getting in for Begonia. I get the early timid reactions at Venice, but as we saw from the rest of the festival and Telluride, Begonia is still one of the most critically liked movies from these festivals in terms of actual awards contenders. And I mean, sure, it's a little weird, but most Yorgos movies are weird. They're expecting that. The movie is still liked for the most part. It has very high Rotten Tomatoes scores at this moment. Its Metacritic is not that. It's higher than a lot of these other contenders that we've had out of the festival so far. And I think as long as the movie keeps up this good buzz like it had at Telluride, and it continues that into its theatrical release here in about a month and a half, then I can see it run the award season race, and it can be that 5th slot director that is just someone who's been around before, that they like their style and they like their unique vision. But I totally do admit where if One Battle After Another is going to be implant itself inside the race, PTA would take this slot away from Yorgos. And I guess just to mention my outside looking ins is both of the Safdie brothers. We have seen the reactions to the Smashing Machine, where I think if this does become A24's main primary target, which I currently do think it is, I can see him slide into the 5 if The Rock becomes the frontrunner and lead actor. It's getting that screenplay nomination, Emily Blunt, makeup, and maybe another technical category as well. Or if Marty Supreme is this huge burst onto the scene at the very last minute, then Josh Safdie can kind of break his way in. My big concern with Marty Supreme is what I've said all year long, is the lack of festival presence. And I get it is in a sense counter programming to Avatar, but unless they pull out this critical early screenings like a month in advance, I'm gonna have a hard time seeing the attention go to Marty more so than a lot of these other major December releases that are going to be the main part of the cultural zeitgeist. But Marty is kind of now filling that House of Dynamite role where I had Dynamite at my number 11 or my number 6 in so many categories because I wanted to see something for it. Now we've seen a trailer from Marty, but I need to see people do what people have been theorizing they will do with Marty all year.
For me, on my outside looking in, some of the ones that I think are very possible, I'm going much more towards the art house direction. No Other Choice is my number 10. Like I was mentioning earlier, I think that the lack of awards at Venice means Neon will not prioritize it. But if Neon does prioritize it, if they know what they have despite no awards and they still push it over, it was just an accident, then I think it's a very solid shot of getting in the top five. The reactions are stellar. The audience loves it. It's just a matter of does Neon give it the attention and the love that it deserves to get, seemingly.
That is now going to move us over to the best casting category, where I feel like personally, this is the one I've had the least movement with from pre-festival to now mid-festival. My same five is still my five, just in a different order. It's still Wicked at number one, where I get the people's concerns out there. It's a sequel, blah, blah, blah. This category is its first year around. If we currently have Grande winning, then this is its perfect avenue to win this category. But maybe some people out there will say, well, you have Sinners winning picture, you should have Sinners winning casting. Totally get that argument. Smashing Machine and Springsteen are both these biopic performances, heavily propelled by their lead actors. And then I still do think that since it's the first year of the category, and we've seen the very positive reactions out there to Wake Up Dead Man, especially for its ensemble and its use of casting some of these specific actors against their types, that it can sneak its way here into the number five slot. But Sentimental Value is a movie, and as well as Hamnet are both movies I really want to find a spot up here for. So maybe I should kick out Springsteen and put in Hamnet. That way I have both my lead acting winners in here. But at the moment, I'm staying with my five and reassessing here post festivals.
On the other hand, because I have it winning two acting prizes and contending for three of them, Sentimental Value is my winner. I'm really going all out on that. The Best Picture winner will sweep, and I believe that Sentimental Value has a great argument here in terms of how it casts Norwegian actors alongside Stellan Skarsgård, a Swedish actor with tons of Hollywood goodwill, and of course, bringing in Elle Fanning as Hollywood representation. The cast is fantastic here. And this is not an ensemble prize. This is not about, oh, there's only four of them. There's not enough. Like, I think there is enough here, especially when all four of them will be nominated, and at least two of them will likely be winning awards, depending on which direction you're going. I mean, minimum one. Stellan Skarsgård is absolutely winning, regardless of what category he goes in. Best actor, I think he wins. Best supporting actor, cakewalk. Takes it easy, easy, easy. But outside of that, I mean, the thing we've been saying all year long, Wicked for Good, it is the first year of the category. This is a way to honor both films. I just currently, at the moment, don't think that it will be quite as strong as Sentimental Value. Of course, Sinners has a great argument with casting Miles Caton and finding him, giving such a major role to someone so young and entrusting them with the vision there. And like you were saying before, Smashing Machine, the argument here is trusting The Rock to do a performance like this. From everything we've heard, sounds like a nominee for Best Actor could be a winner, very possibly. So Smashing Machine feels very good here because that is unorthodox casting that a lot of people doubted and which seems to be really paying off. And to end my category here, I have Rental Family. I think there's always going to be something said for casting of films that are going across cultural divides, bringing Brendan Fraser into the Japanese context, finding these Japanese actors, both unknown and established, putting that ensemble together, which seems to be a very large ensemble that I think will always really click with people. And so that's a little bit of where I'm leaning with the category at this point. Now, before, if you'd asked me a few weeks ago, I would have had Rental Family winning, but the reactions being sort of good, not great, have me thinking Rental Family doesn't need this. I'm going to go with Sentimental Value instead.
On that note, let's move over to Best Adapted Screenplay, where I feel like you and I have our biggest changes from pre-fest now to mid-fest because Hamnet
Hmm.
has shot up the ranks. It's both our number ones in the category, and it looks like it might be number one without a real competitor, barring One Battle After Another's impending release, where the reactions out of Telluride and then its following Tiff reception seems that both the highbrow critics and both the general public seem to be eating this movie up.
Hmm. Absolutely. Hamnet, I think, just has this category as locked can be, which is a great apology for Chloe Zhao saying, hey, we gave you Best Director and Best Picture, but we did not give you Screenplay. Here's a Screenplay prize to complement that. But yeah, One Battle After Another, I think, is the only real challenger. Now, one thing I will say, Dylan, um, I realize we haven't talked again about Smashing Machine and its category placement. And I think this is the great time to talk about that. Is it adapted or is it original? I don't know anymore. I have no idea. Last time we talked about Screenplay, I said with such confidence, oh, Smashing Machine is adapted. Upon further research, there is no based on credit on any of the trailers, on the poster, on the WGA registration. They don't say it's based on the documentary anywhere. But how is it not based on the documentary with the same title that it's clearly taking shots directly from? You watch the trailer of both of the movies, they are using the exact same shots. It is the same storyline. They are taking the title from the movie. How is this not based on the documentary? And yet, there is no based on credit. And that has me so confused of what to do. It makes me wonder, is this going to pull like a Moonlight, where suddenly it's an adapted like midway through the season after being an original multiple times? But I don't know. I think that if it is in the adapted category, like you have it at number two right now, easy for me to see Smashing Machine be an adapted, whereas I don't think it would be in original screenplay. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how we talk about Smashing Machine right now because we don't know what category it's in for sure.
I originally had it in original screenplay because that's where its placement on Gold Derby was, and I would have it on the outside looking in, and I would still have it on the outside looking in over in that category, just because original has so many top tier Best Picture nominees this year. But over here in adapted, as you see, I could have in my number two or my number three slot and feel pretty comfortable and pretty confident about it getting this nomination. So I guess we'll have to see where award season starts off. I'm not sure which would be the first precursor to have a screenplay split. Maybe Critics' Choice, and I guess that's where we find our real declaration with it, unless we get some insider out there saying, hey, this is adapted, this is original on the ballots, but we're still a few months off from that. So that's why I have it over here and adapted because, like you said, its name, its shots, its contents are directly from the documentary. But I guess we'll have to see. And I mean, for the rest of my category, Begonia, I still feel like it's in here, especially if Yorgos is coming in director. And I still think this movie is pretty good in there for Best Picture. I get people who want to rip it out of their top fives, but I don't get people who are ripping it all the way down to like 15 to 20 inside the Best Picture race. I don't think those reactions are really there to warrant that type of reaction. I don't think those reactions are really there to warrant that type of movement in terms of his best picture placement. Wake Up Dead Man, we have reactions out of TIFF. It seems like people really like it. People felt that same way about Glass Onion, and we know how the tides have changed with that movie, but it still got the nomination. And I don't see why this one would change. In One Battle After Another is PTA. This category likes him, even if they don't like the movie anywhere else. So this five feels solid if this is the five. Obviously, Smashing can move over. Springsteen is my first one on the outside looking in to potentially get that nomination. But I do see from your lap, you have Nuremberg there. I made my lineup here before, so we're gonna have a little adjustment in here, and I'm gonna throw Nuremberg in there right below Wicked and right above Die My Love because those reactions are pretty great out there. And if this category loses Smashing Machine, and if No Other Choice gets never leaves the ground, then I can definitely see an avenue like what you have it in here for an adapted screenplay nomination.
September 5. That's all I have to say about it. That's it is September 5, and I think this is its one nomination. And maybe Russell Crowe gets some precursors, but right now I think that Nuremberg could get in, especially because this is such a weak category. Now, on some of the things that you mentioned there, Begonia, I dropped it out of Best Picture. I've got it at number 13 in Best Picture. It's not too low, but one thing I will say is that despite the reviews being good, they're not great. And if you look at Poor Things, you look at The Favorite, yes, those are both weird as fuck movies, but they are also highly critically acclaimed movies. And the way I see it is that Begonia is too weird to get in as like a mid 70s on Metacritic player, right? It doesn't have the passion for people to overlook how strange it is. But I think it gets into writing and I think it gets into Best Actress. And, I'm totally happy with those two. But to me, Focus is clearly focusing on Hamnet after these reviews. I think beforehand they might have wanted Begonia, but Begonia doesn't quite have the passion for me to overcome the strangeness. But of course, adapted screenplay is adapted screenplay, and it will make it in here. Wake Up Dead Man, the reactions are just as good as Knives Out and Glass Onion. And I'll say this, despite the people that hate Glass Onion, I think it's better than Knives Out. And
I
I'm
agree.
so stoked for Wake Up Dead Man. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, what else do we got here? Like, I think it's easy to throw Nuremberg in here because why the hell not? Why the hell not? It's got the reactions, and it totally could be that sort of out of nowhere September 5 lone nomination that just pops up.
That's the only other movie out there we haven't talked about yet in this category. I could see an angle for is Wicked for Good. Recently, I did see the play on Broadway. Act two on Broadway is like 45 minutes long. The movie is going to be 2+ hours long. There's going to be over an hour of added content that I don't think is just going to be music like in the first act. So I'm assuming they're going to add some stuff to the plot. So maybe there's an avenue to get into here, but we've seen time and time again, especially Broadway adapted musicals do not get the screenplay nomination. So that's why I'm on the outside looking in. But if they do add in a whole narrative extra plot for either Elphaba or Glenda or one of the side characters, then if this movie is top five for Best Picture, then I could see it slide in due to the weakness of the category. But for the moment, we don't know if that's true or not. So that's why it's on the outside looking in. But I do think that if Smash Machine is not adapted, we do have a pretty wide open fifth slot where something like Nuremberg could happen or something out there like a solo No Other Choice or Secret Agent nomination, or it's just Springsteen. Well, that is now going to move us to our final category of the day, original screenplay, where we have a battle for the one and two spots where we're both on the opposite sides. I have Sinners, then Sentimental Value. You have Sentimental Value, and then Sinners.
Yeah, man, I don't see an argument for Sinners winning here, even if it's winning picture and director. Yes, it's the era of the sweep, but like, I don't know, I'm biased. That screenplay over Sentimental Value, I don't know, man. I
My,
think even if
my
Sentimental Value doesn't win Best Picture, it wins this.
My thought just goes back to last year is where was the need for Baker to win over Corbet besides the fact the movie swept? And I think the same thing will happen this year where I do agree, even as someone who gave Sinners a 10 out of 10, Screenplay is not the place to award that movie. But if it's sweeping, the Academy has shown you're gonna sweep. I guess the exception could be is where Oppenheimer lost that to American Fiction, where it
Yes.
showed, hey, you can go elsewhere. But American Fiction did also like sweep. So we'll need to see what happens early on in the season. Where does the Golden Globes go? Where do the Critics' Choice go? I feel like it will be a split there where Golden Globes will go Sentimental Value, but Critics' Choice will go with Sinners.
hmm Well, American Fiction wasn't even nominated for the Golden Globe, if I
Oh
remember
yeah. Oh yeah,
correctly.
you're right. You're right. You're right. It,
Yeah,
it wasn't.
so it wasn't a sweeper. It just came in at the last minute, one WGA, one BAFTA. Um, I don't know. I think Oppenheimer is a great example. That was a sweeper that still lost a couple key categories. It lost sound and it lost screenplay and it won everything else. And to me, Sinners, even if it's winning picture, even if it's winning director, it's not winning screenplay. Sentimental value is just so strong in that category specifically. But I agree, these are one and two. I think we just disagree about how close that one and two is. And outside of that, I mean, we've got Rental Family, which I think this is very dependent on how it actually ends up doing with the TIFF People's Choice Award. If it doesn't win the People's Choice Award, maybe we have to adjust and pull Rental Family out of a bunch of categories. Maybe this is just Saturday Night from last year. And aside from that, we've got A House of Dynamite, which I think is a really strong bet for screenplay at this point, having heard that it's like a Rashomon style kaleidoscope of stories. And the political aspect of it, too, is huge. And then I round out my category with Marty Supreme, which I think is the type of movie that could miss screenplay in a very, very strong category, but this doesn't feel like a very, very strong category. But it has the same vibes as like Killers of the Flower Moon, a very strong movie that missed a screenplay nomination. It's just right now, what else takes its place?
Yeah, we have the same five here, just obviously in a different order. I completely agree about Rental Family. It's been my concern with the movie for months now that this is all hype and it doesn't live up to it during its TIFF premiere. And at least seemingly so, it didn't swing and miss as big as Saturday Night, but it's also not a swing and a major hit. So we'll have to really see where, if it does win PCA, I think it coasts its way inside a lineup of 10. But if it comes number two or number three, and is this thing on? Happens to be pretty well liked out of New York because we know the reason why it is on the last day of NIF is not due to the quality, but due to the fact it's not ready yet. That we could switch back to what we had earlier in the season. So there's a chance that Searchlight flips their contenders. And I also think there's a chance this year where Searchlight breaks their streak and they just don't get something in because, as what we said before, Searchlight and 20th Century are owned by the same people and mix and match some of their people in terms of campaigning for both films. And if we have two 20th century movies in, maybe that takes the place of the Searchlight one this year. Don't have that yet, but Rental Family is on the way down in my Best Picture lineup. It's currently my number 10 film there, and it's all dependent off of the PCA victory. But I do think we have some solid choices to fill in if we take out Rental Family or if Marty Supreme is a Babylon type miss later this year. We have it was just an accident, I think, when they were right on the outside looking in, where sure, it can miss out on picture, it can miss out on director, but it can get into this screenplay, kind of like Worst Person in the World did. And it could just be one nomination because we would assume it's not going to be selected for international feature. Jay Kelly, I could see Netflix has the money to make it happen, but also they have a House of Dynamite here. Are they going to take some resources away from that to go to Jake Kelly? And then we have some other films that could be huge swings for just a screenplay, like Sorry Baby, Roof Man, Splitsville, and they could rise their ranks up in the list.
Yeah, on the topic of Searchlight, I think it's more likely that Searchlight just has nothing than that Is This Thing On is a big success. That movie does not look like an Oscar movie, and I don't think it needs to be. I do also think that Jay Kelly has a better shot here than people expect. Mostly just we know that the writer's branch, if anyone likes Noah Baumbach, it's the writer's branch. And even with the sort of mediocre to mixed positive reviews, I do see screenplay as a potential because it's going to be very talky. Now, I have heard a lot of people complain the most about the screenplay in this movie of all of its aspects, and that being the big detractor of what makes the movie not as great. But at the same time, it's a Noah Baumbach script. It's going to have his typical flair. If there is one place that Jake Kelly could overperform, I do think screenplay is still the place that it could do it. It was just an accident. I'm still hesitant towards. Even though I do think it's climbing up to being Neon's second priority, I don't see it. I don't see it. I have a really hard time reckoning with it. Also, I think that you are underrating the possibility of Weapons. I think Weapons gets WGA, could pull a few other things out of its hat. And look, if we're considering, which I don't think you are still, but if we're considering Amy Madigan as a potential contender in the Best Supporting Actress race, it's reasonable to believe that it'll have visibility in some other categories as well. So I would have Weapons within striking distance of a nomination, but still, it's not going to do it. But I think it's possible. There is an avenue for it, as small as that avenue may be.
I do agree. In my review of the film, I did say that its best shot would be WGA original screenplay due to other films being ineligible. I'm not sure which films here besides Sentimental Value would be ineligible in terms of our top five. So that leaves one open spot. And I guess that's Jay Kelly. But I do agree it should probably be my top 15. If I were to make an amendment right below Roofman, I would put at number 11.
Well, and with that said, I think we've exhausted all of the topics we can talk about today, but there is so much more coming up in the near future. TIFF will end. We will get the People's Choice Award. We will know, is Rental Family for real, or is it just a fake out that it was all hype and no game? We'll have to see very, very soon. But as always, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. My name is Matt.
My name's Dill, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.